Alright, so we finally got the NSX on the lift here, and we're getting rid of the old catback that it has, the B pipes, and I believe the headers. And so here are the Top Speed Pro 1 headers for the NSX. So we'll get all that, we'll get all this factory stuff out, and then side by side. So here's the comparison of the two. So guys, when I give you guys like small short advice about wiring, it's because of things like this. This is a 91 Acura NSX. This actually belonged to my father for a little bit, then it got sold to a friend, then got sold to another friend. And so this is my wiring from, I want to say about 2006 or 2007, maybe 2008, but I was maybe 21 or 22 at the time, and I wired this up. Okay, so just to give you an idea how long I've been wiring things up. And so this is from just things that I did a long time ago. Obviously it's not pretty. I was decently experienced, but still relatively inexperienced, if that makes sense. And I've learned a lot over the years. So anyways, what we're gonna do is we're gonna un-F this car up. As you can see here, it's got an AEM FIC. This is from way back in the day here. I'm pretty sure they don't make these anymore. Did it work? Yeah, absolutely, it sure did. So we're going to un-F this up. We're gonna go put it back to stock, and then we're gonna set it up with our new ECU setup. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to fight through all of this electric tape here that I did. I'm gonna fight through all this, cut it all up, and then remove everything, and then hopefully we can get the FIC completely removed. So here it is. The FIC is completely unplugged. The ECU, the factory ECU, is also unplugged. Now what we're gonna do is I'm going to isolate the wires that we just tapped. So meaning on the FIC you had to intercept wires, meaning that you would splice it in half and basically create one wire to two, and then the FIC would intercept between those two wires. And then there were a handful of wires that were just tapped, meaning that the wires weren't cut, they were just simply tapped into place. And we're going to start off by eliminating those first, just to make things hopefully easier to figure out. And then we're also going to look at this wire here that looks like it just completely broke off. Anyways, so that's what we're going to do first. First, we're just going to eliminate all the taps. Okay, so I got the taps removed. There was only about 3 wires, maybe 4, and I kind of left them a little bit loose here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and fight all this gross electric tape. Here's already some of it that I've removed, and then I'll go back and actually isolate these wires. Unfortunately, with these wires, I'll just have to tape them back up once I remove the taps, because there's nothing else I can really do here. I could just cut the wires and then crimp them back together, but I am probably not going to go through all that to do it. So see, and let's see if, yep. So the fun thing is that I actually still tap wires the exact same way here. So you basically punch a hole through and then slide the wire in, wrap it all up, and then it's actually a pretty tight connection. And so you could solder it if you want to. I don't recommend that just because of how brittle it becomes, but I'm still tapping wires, so that still definitely works. Here's one thing that I'm really proud of. When you're intercepting wires, always make sure that you leave a little bit of meat on the end. What I don't like is how much I actually stripped off. I mean, it kind of makes sense because I just didn't really know any better, and you know, a little bit longer, better connection, whatever. But I've learned now that you don't have to strip this long, and it makes repairs even more difficult when you do strip this long. So hopefully you guys can see this. You might not be able to, but the reason why you don't strip this long is that if you look in here, you'll see that there is a little bit of bare wire just hanging out right there, and that's just going to cause a lot more problems than it should. So I'll have to cut it down just a hair just to bring it a little bit further back. These style connectors though, because it is a heat shrink style connector, it should be fine. But if you're in a pinch and you're using like a regular crimp connector, that's just asking for corrosion and crazy ghost issues down the line. So before I took all this out, so as you can see, these wires were all intercepted wires. I took a look at them to make sure that the wire colors were like completely different, and they were. Sometimes manufacturers will reuse like a color wire, or they will reuse a wire, but it'll be on like a different connector or whatever. But you still got to pay attention to it. So I took a look at all of that and made sure that there were no repeated wires, and went ahead and just start tapping it in. This wire is the one from earlier that was already disconnected, and this was a logic ground. All right, so that is all the wiring as far as the intercepts are taken care of now. So now we just got to go back through and clean up all the taps. So we have this one and a few others over here that we're going to go through, and we're just going to clean it up. Unfortunately, all we can do with these is going to be electric tape again. I'm going to get some cleaner and clean it all up as best as I can to get all the old adhesive off, which is a complete pain in the ass to do, but it's got to be done. And then we'll actually hit it with some good electric tape, the good old Scotch 33. And then once that's done, we'll plug it all in. It might start. It's probably gonna run like crap just because it's got larger injectors and stuff like that. But it should start and run. So the only wire that I'm a little concerned about is this one here. This is one of the crank sensor wires. And the reason why I have a concern about it was that it just doesn't, the wires were cut a little bit too thin, so there's not a lot of contact here. So we may have to chop this out and then splice in an additional wire. And if that's the case, that's not a big deal. We can just salvage some of the wiring from the FIC and then just connect it. It'll be a little bit on the long side, but it's better for it to be long than have a bad connection. So as I was inspecting what I thought were taps, I found one that was completely busted. So the wire was like cut. Maybe I made a mistake or something, and then I wrapped it up and then threw some crap tape on it. So that's why it's important to just kind of check over everything. Okay, so everything is isolated for now. We're normally, as you guys may already know, we would normally hit it with Tesa tape. We're going to hold off on that for now. So we're going to plug in the Haltech here. Boop boop. So with our plug and play adapter. So we're going to plug that sucker in, and then we will do a O-scope and see if that crank wire has an issue.